Now, Washington Mornings on the Mall. At AM 630.
7:37 on WMAL. A happy Tuesday morning to you. It's Brian Neiman, Brian Wilson.
Hey, good morning.
If you missed our interview with Ann Coulter earlier this morning, we'll replay it for you coming up at about 8:36, about an hour from now.
You don't want to miss it.
GEERT Wilders is on the line with us right now. He is a Dutch member of Parliament, champion of free speech. We've talked about him many times before in this program. He's got a new book out called Marked for Death, Islam's War Against the West and Me. Mr. Wilders, good morning, and thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for inviting me on your show this morning.
You live in what, an undisclosed location? You travel around safe house to safe house?
Well, actually, because as I write in my book Marked for Death, because I spoke the truth as I see it about Islam for already almost 8 years today, they marked me for death, and which meant that I lived in army barracks. I lived with my wife for half a year in prison cells. Actually, the prison cell where the terrorist of an attack on the Pan Am airplane in Scotland, the Lockerbie was there.
Right, yeah.
I mean, it's terrible if you are marked for death and if you speak the truth about Islam. And I'm not the only one. You know that in Scandinavia, cartoonists like Kurt Westergaard or Lars Vilks or my former colleague Ayaan Hirsi Ali, if you speak out the truth about Islam, they will haunt you, and you have to live in hiding. And it's now been for 8 years that I've been able to walk by myself through the streets, or go to a cinema, or drive a car. And this is something, of course, you don't wish your worst enemy to have.
And not only were you marked for death, as you say, but you actually came under a lot of criticism from your own government. I mean, the Amsterdam Court of Appeals ordered you prosecuted for incitement to hatred and discrimination. I want to point out you were acquitted on those charges, but even in your own country, you find sometimes it's hard to speak the truth.
Yes, this is really unfortunate. Once again, if you speak the truth about Islam, you will be. I was banned when traveling to a colleague of mine in the Parliament of the United Kingdom. Jackie Smith, the then Home Secretary, denied me entrance. I was detained in the detention center in London and sent back to Holland. The country of Jordan wanted to prosecute me. The Indonesian president said that I was never allowed in his country as long as I lived. The UN Secretary General denounced my views. And in my own country, it took me 3 years. Everybody took me to court. The government took me to a criminal court. Imams took me and still take me as we speak to a civil court to sue me for 50,000 euros. And well, once again, it's very tough. It's called some kind of legal jihad. If you speak the truth, people try to intimidate you, and once again, not only me, also others, that you be silenced. And I believe that free men, nothing is more powerful than the truth. Free men and women everywhere should never be silenced or fall victim to any kind of violent intimidation. And political correctness, unfortunately, became the unofficial law in Europe today. We should stand up and be proud on what we stand for.
In this country, the National Journal magazine has written an article. It quotes an anonymous senior official at the State Department as saying that the war on terror is over. Your thoughts?
Well, I wish it was true, but it's not. And the mistake this official makes is that it's not only a war against terrorists, people who are extremists. The problem is not only with the people. I believe, by the way, that there are many moderate Muslims that are not terrorists at all. The majority of the Muslims, as a matter of fact, are not extremists. But the problem is not so much with the people, except for a growing amount of radicals. The problem is with the ideology. And I believe that Islam itself is more a totalitarian ideology than a religion. You are not allowed to leave Islam. Then you are an apostate. You have to be killed. Islam wants to impose its rules also on the kafir, on the non-Muslims. They want to create an Islamic state. So the ideology of Islam has to be compared with other totalitarian ideologies like communism or fascism, and not with other religions. And I believe that we should see Islam as what it is, and this is what my book Marked for Death tried to show the people, that expose Islam for what it is and be proud. You are not a racist if you tell people that our culture is based on Christianity, on Judaism, on humanism, and not on Islam, and that our values are far more better than the Islamic values. And if we don't know or acknowledge who we are, it's very difficult to fight against what we are not. And with my book, I try once again to show the people that what is happening in Europe today can happen in America tomorrow. So be aware and don't make the mistakes we made in Europe.
But you believe that moderate Muslims, as you said, and that most Muslims are not terrorists, but you do believe that Islam is the problem and also that the Quran is the problem. You've even suggested that maybe half of the Quran should be thrown out in order...
Yeah. Yeah, really, I make a distinction between the people and the ideology. I have nothing against any person or any Muslim or Christian or whatsoever, as long as they abide by our laws, our values, and our constitution. There's nothing wrong with that. They are equal as anybody else. But like I said, Christianity or Judaism, it cannot be compared with Islam. If we look, for instance, at the Quran, it's not a book of love. It's not to be compared with the Bible. It's a book full of hate, a book full of war and violence against Christians, against Jews, against non-Muslims. If you look at Muhammad, he was not a kind of Jesus. He was not a prophet of love. He was a warlord. He was a terrorist. He was somebody who he was even a pedophile with a young woman from 6 years old that he consummated at 9 years at age. Look at anything at Islam, and what I want to show people is that once again, Islam's true face is a face of violence, of war, of anything that at the end of the day, and you see it in every community where Islam is growing, or any country where Islam is growing, that at the end of the day it will cost us our freedom of speech, our equality, our tolerance. And I believe, like Karl Popper wrote already some time ago, that we should stop being tolerant to the people that are intolerant to us and start finally getting intolerant to the intolerant. This is what Islam stands for, and we have to expose it.
We don't have a lot of time left, but I obviously you don't have a whole lot of support within European Parliament or politicians. But what about the people of the Netherlands, the people of Europe? Do they support you?
Well, in the elections 2 years ago, we became, with this agenda, the third biggest party in Holland. We came from nothing as being the third party with more than 50% of the vote. And I believe a growing amount of people, both in Europe but also in America and in Australia, everywhere I travel, people see that the political elite that is ignoring the problem of the mass immigration, the problem of the Islamization, the problem of crime and unemployment and anything that comes along with it, is something that for political correct reasons is ignored totally. And you see, whether it's in the Netherlands or in Australia or in Denmark or in France, that different parties who stand up and say, hey, enough is enough. We are not Islamic. We have to stop the mass immigration. We have to fight for our own values. And we are not Islamic. That those parties will get stronger because the political elite is ignoring it every day again, unfortunately.
Geert Wilders, thanks for joining us. We appreciate your time.